Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Berserker Claus Show. I'm your host, Jaximus Claus, the one and only. And I had to go to the airports. I had to go to Terminal 1 and 2 to check to see if there's any passengers. But like one of my dates, there's nobody aboard my van, so I'm very lonely right now. So I'm very bored, so I decided to just go live and drive home and try to have another great show continuing from the one that we had earlier. And just try to, finish off the topic at hand, what I was saying. Wow, that's two cop cars. Somebody got pulled over on 495 or 494 over by the Cyber Collision and kind of by someplace. I don't even know where the hell I am. Let's see here. I gotta adjust my ass a little bit. My hand's going numb, so one, I'm getting numb, and two, I'm over here by Rockford Road and Bass Lake, which is about 3 miles away. So we're kind of by that area over there by Plymouth, I think it is. Yeah, kind of by Plymouth, I think it is. Yeah, Plymouth, that's where we are. We're in Plymouth. So I had something come up in my mind, when I was coming home, and I was driving a couple days ago, and it was in the rain, and I don't know if I specified this or not, but I had a passenger literally on my van one day question my driving. Now, I know for a fact that if you question my driving, I literally want to pull over on the side of the road and backhand you. Because Groom pays me to drive the van. I'm one of their elite drivers. I may not look like, I'm a guy who, I may not look like a guy who has been driving for a long time for Groom, but I have been driving a vehicle for a pretty long time. I mean, I've been driving since I was 10. I mean, I was 10 years old, I could drive a car. I mean, I've been driving for a long time, So yeah, and, I've been driving all kinds of things. Like I said, I drive on backcountry roads. I, fly down backcountry roads where trees are on either side and it's gravel and it's like driving on ice. And, sometimes I drive a lot of times. I'm always looking for deer, yes, because we're in Minnesota. I mean, there's deer everywhere. Yeah, they're everywhere. But, so I was on interstate. Interstate speed limit is 70 miles an hour, okay? And when rain is coming down, you're not supposed to use your cruise, which we don't have cruises in the van. They took the cruise out of the van. But I say that if you can't drive a vehicle without a cruise, you shouldn't be fucking driving. Yeah, you should be able to drive anything without cruise control. You should be able to drive down the road, focus on what the fuck you're doing, and, live your life. This is how I wish that the John Hutsack the safety video would go, is basically you get in the middle lane, you drive 64 miles an hour on 494. On 94, you drive 70. Yep, you drive 70 in the middle lane. And you don't move. You stay in the middle lane unless otherwise optimal forces tell you to. If it's a state trooper with his fucking red and blue lights on, get the fuck over. Move. Get out of the way. Yes. If you're driving down the road, keep it between 60 and 64 on 494. On Interstate 94, keep it between 70, 65, and 70. But I was driving in the rain. It wasn't even a hard potential downpour. No, it was just rain coming down, fat big old drops, and the guy behind me says this in a posh kind of voice and says, "Hey, can you slow down a little bit? I mean, it's not like it's, snowing and it's 40 below. But I feel like I am threatened." And I'm like, really? It wasn't even that bad out. And people were flying past me like I was standing still. Basically, they were passing me like I was an old person having sex. Because they were literally going by me like I was standing still. And our safety director, John, he doesn't tell you that when you're driving, but I love the company more than anything in the world, and I will tell you that if we had a safety instructor that would tell you the naked truth and basically tell you, what to expect, you would always want to go down to the airport because that is where the fun is. Yeah, driving down to the airport is where the fun is, dude. Yes. Driving to Brainerd and driving to Alexandria. When you go to Brainerd and Alexandria, the only thing fun about that is being blown all over the road in the wintertime when there's ice and snow built up on 490 or on 94. Yeah. Or 371. Yeah. Because Brainerd, you drive down the road on 371 and you feel like you're being blown all over the damn road. So, yeah. But, so, every time I drive down the road, right? Every time I drive down the road, I feel like, alright. Every time I drive down the road, I feel like there is somebody always out there watching me. Yeah. I feel like there's somebody out there watching me, and they're ready to write down the telephone number on the side of the van, and they're saying that the guy's all over the road, he's doing this, he's doing that, he's cutting people off, and he's driving like a bat out of hell. Well, when the thing is, the guy in front of me, or the guy who's the one taking down the telephone number, is the one driving worse than I am. Because there are so many people that drive on 94 and interstate that just do not pay any attention to what they're fucking doing. And they just don't care. Because people are so interested about their damn cell phone that they're not, they're interested about their damn cell phone more than they are about driving. Now people would say, well, Jack, what about you? Well, my cell phone is right there in a cradle. Yeah, it's sitting in a cradle. Yeah, because the cell phone's in the cradle of the silver spoon. It's a hands-free device and I'm driving soon. Yeah, because I'm driving and I'm not on my phone. I'm not touching my phone. I'm not holding on to my phone. And the thing is I'm not letting my phone drive me. Like everybody in this freaking world, they use their cell phone as a crutch. I saw an officer one time, and I talked to him, And I asked him a question. And I said to him, I said, what is the funniest thing that you have ever heard in your entire life? And he said there was this girl. Yep, she was young. She was like she was 21 years of age. She was driving a car, and she crashed into the back of a car because she said that her navigation system didn't tell her that there was a car in front of her. Did you get that? The navigation system didn't tell her that there was a car in front of her. She was sitting there staring at her navigation system as she was driving down the road. So she looks at her navigation system. She's like, keeps driving, and she just keeps going down the road. And then finally she looks up, hits the brakes, and crashes into the back of a car. And then she goes, well, why did the navigation system not say that there was a car on the thing in front of her? And the officer, they were pulled over on the side of the road, and she was like, and the officer was like, well, how did this happen? And she goes, well, I was watching my navigation system, and it never said there was a car in front of me. So the officer right then and there was like, so you were using your phone and driving? And she said, well, yeah, I was using the navigation system, but I was watching it while I was driving. And she goes, well, it was in a hands-free device, but I was watching it. And the officer was like, well, you were using your phone. And she said, yeah. And she said, but the thing is that I was using the navigation system. So it wasn't like I was using my phone. And the officer said, well, did you touch your phone when you were driving, or did you have it in a hands-free device? And then you touched your phone, you looked at your phone, and then you looked up, and then you saw the car, and then you smashed into it. And she goes, yeah, that one. She was choosing it like multiple choice questions is what she was doing. But I'm not saying this girl is different or anything like that. I'm not making fun of her. No, I wasn't making fun of her. The cop told me that this is what was one of the funniest things he ever did, or ever heard on a crash. And and I've also asked him, what is the fastest you've ever pulled anybody over on 94 or 494? And he said, I pulled over a Corvette C8 on 94, doing like 145 miles an hour between Rogers and Buffalo. And I was like, wow. And then he said at 94, he went from Wayzata or from 494, he went from Wayzata, the exit at Wayzata there, down to like Bloomington. He said he pulled over like an Audi something R8 or something like that. He pulled over an Audi R8 doing 175. And it was at nighttime. And I was like, holy crap. I mean, that's really fast. And he's just like, yeah. He's like, yeah, that happens a lot. And I'm like, but who has that kind of money, though, to be able to do that kind of stuff, to get in trouble like that? And, I just was like, there's no way anybody could ever get in trouble that way. But it happens. I mean, it's stuff that happens, so, But yeah, I mean, there are people in this world that, that do things that they just think that, I'm going to just go fast because I'm not going to get caught. And then, it happens, But there are times that you just want to backhand somebody because, they question your authority, they question you, and you're just like, dude, seriously? I mean, we have time and we have schedules that we have to keep, and we have to, like, do things, So, it's just one of those things that happens, So I love these car rides at like 2 in the morning, or heading back to St. Cloud when there's like barely anybody on the road. I mean, you're driving down the road and you're just like, dude, there is like nobody on the road. And it sucks. This is terrible. And when I was leaving Terminal 2, or when I was going over to Terminal 2 to check to see if there's any passengers, I had Bambi. Bambi was stuck outside the cemetery, out by the, what's it called there, and couldn't get back into the cemetery, or couldn't get back into whatever. So it started running alongside the van. Yeah, with me. Like, it was running alongside the van like I was leaving it behind. And it was scared. And it had nowhere to go. And I was just like, trying to get in front of it so it didn't jump out in front of me. And, so it didn't do anything, And, yeah, so I don't know. I really have no idea. And this deer looked like she was lost, because when you looked at her, she was a doe. Yeah, she was a doe. Holy cow! Ford Fusion going 75, 80, 90 miles an hour. That's nice. Must have to go to the bathroom. He's in a code poop. Yeah. He's gotta go 9009. So he's gotta go to the bathroom. So he's probably heading home to go poop. Who knows? But so anyway, so this deer looked like she was lost, and she looked like she was scared, and I got ahead of her, and then she kind of went towards the fence, and I think she hit the fence and realized that she couldn't jump over it. So I don't know what happened there, but she seemed like she was really scared or whatever. Oh man. So I went to Arby's, and I did the wrong thing. I got Mott sticks, some curly fries, and I had, 2 Mellow Yellows. So I did a cheat day kind of like thing, I was kind of mad at myself for doing it. I kind of had a cheat day, but, I just really don't know sometimes what to do. And so I try to make the most out of what I have. And Mark was asking me on one of the shows just recently, he was asking me, he's like, so what kind of, he's like, you were looking like you were cooking on a griddle. And yeah, I have a steel-made griddle, which goes across my burners on my oven. And you can do all kinds of stuff on it. You can cook right on it. And it's basically a cast iron skillet. And it's very nice. I enjoy it. You clean it off and with a couple paper towels and some oil, and you just start all over again. You turn the burners on, and it matches it evenly across the burners. So it actually does a pretty decent job. Yeah, it's actually a pretty decent thing. And you can cook burgers, you can cook bacon, you can use pots. Yeah, you can use pots and pans on it if you really want to. Yeah, you just put a pot down and then you put it on there, and the heat transfers through the pot or the pan, and then you can go from there. But you can cook directly on the surface, and that's what I like about it. And it's a pretty cool thing. It's a pretty wonderful, cooking surface. And you just, cook it, you just put a little cooking spray on it, and You basically just throw your food right on top of the grill and go for it. And if you ever did any kind of like, griddle cooking or anything, like worked at like a food place and cooked on a griddle, you're good to go. It's basically like the big thing that you see at the Chinese restaurant place when they cook on that thing. It's kind of the same thing. Hold on a minute. I'm going to get off the robo strips. So, but yeah, I cook on a griddle, and I was talking about making food and, cooking food, and talking about people making, cheeseburger dogs so I have always been a fan of hot dogs. I love hot dogs, but I wish that somebody would make them, in a cheeseburger. And I remember back in the day when I used to go eat food at 7-Eleven. They used to have a 7-Eleven, and what they used to do at 7-Eleven was they used to have a thing called a cheeseburger big bite. And what this thing had in it was it had cheese in it. Yep. It had cheese in it. And it was on a roller. Yeah. And it was a cheeseburger. It literally was a cheeseburger. It was like a processed cheeseburger is what it looked. I don't know if it was a processed cheeseburger. It obviously wasn't, farm fresh beef. But what they did was they rolled this thing on the roller, and it was a cheeseburger, and it had cheese inside of it. And then they made a cheeseburger bacon big bite, which it had bacon bits in it. It had bacon in it. And I was like, dude, this is so intriguing. This is cool as shit. And I was like, dude, there's got to be a way to be able to make one of those. And so what you do is you take PVC pipe. You basically make a plunger idea, and you take hamburger. Yep, you take hamburger, and you put it inside a tube, and then you push it out with like a plunger thing on the back, but it comes out basically like a hot dog. Yeah. But sometimes you might need to use a little bit bigger tube. So you use about maybe a 2-inch, you use about a 2.5-inch pipe. Yeah. Around. You use a 2.5-inch pipe. So basically what you do is you put a rolled up, you put a cheese stick, like one of those freaking cheese sticks or whatever the hell it is that goes inside the damn, thing. Remember those Poland peel or mozzarella sticks, but they're not deep fried? No. You take a cheese one or a cheddar one and you put it inside the thing. And then you roll it up with your hand. Or you use a tube. Yeah. So you put one end of the cheeseburger, yep, in a tube. Yep, in a tube. And then what you do is you put a piece of cheese inside the burger. And then you close it all up. Yep. And then you push it out the tube, and when it comes out the other side, it looks like a hot dog. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger than a hot dog, but you put that inside of a thing, you cook it on both sides, and you put it in a hot dog bun. And success. You've made a cheeseburger dog. Yeah. It's basically the size of a brat. Yeah. It's like a bratwurst. So you put it in an 1.5 to 2 inch, round cylinder. Just use it 1.5 to 2 inch thing. Yeah. And then push it out. Yep. Get the best way to do it is to put it in like a paint gun. Yeah, like a caulking gun. Yeah. And then push that thing through the other side, and basically you got yourself a cheeseburger dog. And then when you do it on the griddle, you just roll it. Yeah. You roll it and let it get brown on both sides. Throw a little S&P on it, or a little salt on it, and go from there. And you make cheeseburger dogs, and you're good to go. And then if you want to throw a little bit of extra spice on it with a little bit of cheddar, throw a little bit of cheddar on top of it, and you let it melt on either side. And just let it just, fall. And then lift it off using a pair of tongs, and then put it in the bun. Yeah. Don't use a spatula. Use a spatula to kick it or cook it, but a pair of tongs to put it on the bun. Yeah. And then throw your lettuce and tomato and ketchup on it or whatever, and go from there. But that's how you make a cheeseburger dog. Yeah. You basically use like a caulking gun and 2-inch PVC after you clean it out. Yeah. That's what I say. Yep. It may be a little big for some people, but that's why I say just use like a smaller, use a smaller PVC pipe to push it out with something. All you gotta do is just put like a dime or a quarter inside the thing, and then push it with like a stick all the way through the other side after you pack the meat inside the tube. Yeah. And you're good to go. I gotta adjust my butt. Oh, another deer was killed. Yep. Looks like another deer was killed on the road. Yeah, I'm only a couple miles away from St. Cloud. It's 2 in the morning, 2:34 in the morning. I live my life and enjoy it. You see Old Glory flying, you salute it. Another deer dead on the road. But anyway, but there's just one of these things that I just don't understand and I don't get. And I realize to myself that when I drive down the road, I try to drive, the speed limit. I try to drive, courteous, because we don't have cruise control. But I try to do what I can to get down the road, and I try not to drive fast and everything else. But you seem like every time you drive down the road, you always feel like you're getting pushed around. When you're in these vans, because the thing is that everybody behind or everybody around you doesn't have a camera in their van, and they don't have to worry about driving the speed limit or whatever, because they fly down the road like they don't give a shit about the speed limit anyway. Yeah, because they don't care. Because people in this world, if they're going to do something illegally, they're going to drive over the speed limit. Everybody drives over the speed limit. Everybody does. Yeah. People drive over the speed limit all the time, because the thing is that that's one of the things in this world that is broken more than anything. People steal things. They steal brakes, but they always drive over the speed limit. Everybody does. Yes. Everybody drives over the speed limit. If you go a mile over the speed limit, you're driving over the speed limit. It's just as simple as that. Yeah, it is. Even if your vehicles are governed, sometimes you can still drive over the speed limit. It happens. Yeah, it happens. But every time that somebody, drives down the road or does something in this world, they always have something on their mind, other than what they're supposed to be doing. And it looks like it's going to thunderstorm tonight. And I think it is. Because I keep on seeing flashes in the sky, kind of towards St. Cloud, but, you gotta wonder. But I drive home and I realize to myself that, if I don't have anybody in this van, I get really, really bored. I get really, really lonely. I sometimes listen to my Spotify, or I listen to a lot of things. But one of the things that you have to understand more than anything in the world is, I don't do this. I don't go on these lives because I'm trying to be everyone's favorite podcast in the world. I'm just trying to live my life. And I'm trying to be happy. I'm trying to get, people to understand that, the only reason why I do this is because I'm bored. And I'd love to reach out to people. I'd love to talk to people. I have people who sit there and talk to me on Twitch all the time. They're like, dude, stop trying to get free help all the time, or free people to come to your show, and quit wasting space. Go to this thing or whatever. And I'm like, you know what? Eat a fat one. Because, I'd love to be a comedian. I'd love to go on tour and do stuff and do things like Steve-O's Wild Ride. Like Steve-O's podcast. I like that. Joe Rogan's podcast. I like that. I'd like to be like that. Because I've always wanted to be on TV. I always have. Yeah. I've always wanted to be on TV. Because the reason why I've always wanted to be on TV is because, one, I could have been a child actor if I wanted to. I could have done that shit. But my parents didn't want me to. My mom said I had a face for radio. Yeah. So I decided to just show off my face. I think it looks, pretty decent. I'm, a very different kind of guy. People say I talk with a weird kind of accent, or I talk funny. One day a lady thought I started talking like Jelly Roll. She thought I sounded like him. I was like, really? I was like, I don't see it. I don't know what you're talking about, But I just try to be myself, man. I love being myself. I wish I could talk to people. I love being around people. I love people. Yeah, I do. If I could spend like 95% of my time talking to people, I'd love to do that. Somebody will be like, well, why don't you run for president? No, I'm not running this country. I would never run this country. Because I wouldn't even know where to start. I love America, and I love everybody that's a part of it. I love people who want to live here. If you want to live here legally, do the right steps, pay for immigration, go through it, and be a U.S. citizen, by all means, go right ahead. Because that's what they want you to do when you go to somebody else's country. They want you to come in there. They want you to try to get your citizenship, and they want you to try to work in their country and be an important person. There isn't anything wrong with people in America. No. People need to love everybody. And it's not hard to love somebody. I was saying earlier, you tell somebody that you love them. Oh, that bug just died. Holy cow, that was a big June bug. Holy shit. That thing hit the window and exploded. It was like, ah! Holy crap, dude. That June bug hit the window so hard, his guts went all over the fridge. Oh, damn, he went all over the window. Holy shit. Hold on a minute, I'm cleaning him off. Oh, gross. My God, that was gross. Holy crap. Dude, you should have seen that son of a bitch. It was like, ah! That June bug hit the window so hard, I think his abdomen went through his ass. That was awesome. Anyway, so I'm basically saying you gotta love everybody. Because, I mean, you can love somebody and not physically have a relationship with them, you know? Well, like, you know, Mr. Rogers said it best when we were kids. You know, we were growing up and we listened to Mr. Rogers, and some of the things he had to say were, you know, pretty touching, and, you know, he was a pretty kick-ass guy. Mr. Rogers always had something nice to say about something. He was always lovable and huggable and cool and calm and collected, and he was always excited, and you know, he was always nice. So like, he would, you know, put his shoes on after he put on his sweater, and you know, that sweater that he would wear, that cardigan, I don't know what was about with that sweater, but he put that thing on, and then he would say, hey there, neighbor, I just want to tell you that I love you today, and that you should love everybody. You should love your friend, you should love your next door neighbor, and everything else. And they thought he was weird for that. And I thought he was cool. Excuse me, got a burp. I thought he was cool. I had no... God dang, I got the hiccups. So, I thought he was cool. Yeah. I thought Mr. Rogers was cool. Captain Kangaroo, on the other hand, that was a totally different story. But he was funny, you know, had his moments. And then, I don't know how Benny Hill got in my repertoire, but I loved Benny Hill growing up. And Benny Hill was a pretty funny guy, you know. And then Monty Python and Holy Grail and, you know, all that stuff. I mean, I figured, you know, those TV shows were different. But you want to know something that scared the shit out of me when I was a kid? That bone-chilling song on Doctor Who. Dude, that song scared the shit out of me all the time. I mean, it's like a slide whistle, like, played with like a bone-chilling nails on the chalkboard kind of thing. And that would scare the hell out of me. And if I was up past a certain time, that song would come on, and I knew to turn the TV off. Holy shit, did I know to turn the TV off. I was so scared. Oh my God, Doctor Who scared the shit out of me, man. And then I started watching it now that I'm older, and I'm like, dude, this is nothing. Yeah. Exterminate! Exterminate! Fucking Darlex or whatever those things are called. Yeah, they're called Darlex or Deerlex or something. I don't know. But, you know, that's how they sound. They go, exterminate! And then they shoot this, like, you know, like three-ring dildo thing at you, and then you blow up and you, like, disintegrate. You turn into, like a glowing zombie, like a glowing skeleton is what you turn into. Yeah. It's like a flying toilet, or like trying to be R2-D2, but then it's got like this three-wing dildo on the front of it, and then it shoots a laser beam out at you, and like, yeah, and like Doctor Who couldn't even stop it at some time, but I thought they were pretty weird or whatever, you know. Yeah. So that was one thing. But, you know, I never really watched Doctor Who all that much, because that show, you know, it did scare the shit out of me till I got older. And I mean, it's just one of those things that, you watch and you figure out, But, the Brits have some pretty damn good shows, man. I'll tell you, man. They have some good TV. Yeah, their stuff is funny, man. When I went over to England, I watched a guy named Keith Lemon. Yeah, Keith Lemon is this guy who's got like a dick. He's got like a dick haircut. Yeah, so basically what they did was they took his hair, they parted it, and then they put a bowl on it and cut around it, and it looks like it's parted like a penis. And he's got this haircut, and he has all these weird people on his show. He's got all these different celebrities, and they do like weird games, like throw dildos at each other, and talk about breasts and ass and everything else. And it's called Celebrity Juice, and it's a really cool show. And Keith Lemon is part of it, and it's really funny, and it's like a really cool show and everything else. And then they have like Graham Norton, and Graham Norton is like one of the coolest shows in the world. The guy's so laid back. He's so funny because he has all these American celebrities on their show, and they sit there and they swear and they cuss on the show, and they're like, oh, we can't do that on American TV, which I don't understand why. If the word is in the dictionary and people use it all the time, then why the hell can't you just say it? Like, why has it got to be censored all the fucking time? Like, seriously. Why is fuck something that is always, really bad? Like Billy Connolly, great English, great English comedian, very funny. He talked about swear words. and fuck was his favorite one. Yes. But my thing is, why in America, in the United States of America, why do we get so pissed off when people swear? People tell me, Jack, you should have a swear jar because every time you swear, you should throw money in there because you're cussing. And I'm like, well, yeah, who doesn't cuss? Ever watched a sporting event? Ever seen the coach on the other side of the bench when something ain't going his way? Fuck. So, Brett was telling me today that he bought the brand new Final Fantasy 16 game. Yeah, he bought the brand new Final Fantasy 16 game for, I don't know, computer, PC, or whatever the fuck he plays it on. I have no idea. So, Final Fantasy starts off and it's really cool and everything else. And then there's this hot blonde girl who comes out and she's standing next to this big soldier guy who's like 7 feet tall. And she says something about his junk. She says something about how she wants his big junk in her mouth, and then this one guy runs across the screen saying fuck. And why are video games turning into that kind of stuff so hardcore now that it has to be done? Because that's what I think. I think pretty much that's what it is they're trying to make video games and trying to keep people to stay glued to their devices, so they're going to do anything in their power to make it happen. People are so infatuated by things like hentai or anime porn or boner pills or sex or all this stuff, people are so infatuated by sex, it's not even funny. But people, don't have to pay for it sometimes. They don't have to, but sometimes they do. And there is so many things now on the internet that have just made it so bad. So there are websites other than OnlyFans, which I have noticed that you can actually do a lot of things with. So there's this one called, like, I think it's Cheddarbait or Chatterbait or something like that. You're basically sitting there and a camera pops up and a girl's doing something, you know, that she's not supposed to be doing on the camera. And then if you want to interact with her, you can go into the chat room with her, strike up a conversation, and then if you want to go private with her, you can send money to her PayPal, and you can go private with her, and then basically she does things for you, or she does things with a plastic adult toy, or she does provocative stuff for you, and you sit there and you watch it, and you totally just, you know, get off on this stuff. And then she can see your camera, so you guys can have like a sex chat. Yeah. And I'm sitting here going, really? Whoops. Wrong camera, you know. And she's like, it's okay, sugar, talk to you later. And then she clicked me out. But I didn't pay for anything because I didn't have a credit card linked to, so I couldn't do anything. So she like kicked me out. But cause she accepted me, but I didn't pay for anything. Yeah, so she just kind of like, she just said hi and that was it. And then she was gone. She was out. She was out like a light. And I was just like, are you kidding me? I'm like, that's the kind of shit that's on the internet nowadays? And there's like Cam Soda. Yeah, there's like Cam Soda. There's all these other sites that are these kind of like video sites. And this is definitely not for kids. I mean, it's definitely not for kids. But these people do acts of sex on their webcams. And I'm like, are you literally fucking kidding me? Like, seriously. You know? And I'm like, really? And I remember back in the day when I got on Twitch one time, and I got on Twitch and I was going by something, and this chick was licking the microphone, okay? So she was literally licking the microphone, like she was making like a licking sound, and it basically sounded like she was, you know, and then she was moaning, and these guys would literally pay to be in a private video, so they go from Twitch to Cam Soda or Cheddarbait or some other live, you know, streaming porn, you know, chat site. And these girls make, you know, tons of freaking money on it. They make money on it. You know, they make money on it other than OnlyFans. And, you know, it's not like, you know, it's not, you know, it's not bad. No, it's not bad. I mean, it's adult entertainment, but it's like going to a strip club and like paying, like, but it's better than paying $56 for a lap dance at Sugar Daddy's. Yeah, because when you go to Sugar Daddy's, you get 3 songs for $56 or $55. Yeah, 3 songs. Yeah. And the girl dances with you for 3 songs. And, you know, she gets to talking to you, and she gets to grinding on you, and she says whatever and blah, blah, blah. And she pretends like she cares about you. Yeah. And that's stripper etiquette. You know, that's stripper etiquette. That's something they have to do, is pretend like they give a shit about you, because then you wouldn't give them any more money, and then, you know, they wouldn't, you know, then they wouldn't make any money, and, you know, the club would close and people would, you know, find other ways to do it. They probably do it on Cheddarbait or Cam Soda. But what I just don't understand, and I don't get, is why guys pay for things like this, you know? But some of the things that, people pay for is just electrifying. And, we've done that before. We've done something stupid where we've paid a stripper to, give us a lap dance. We've done that, it's happened. Yes, it's happened. But we don't like it when it happens because we don't want to just, we should have just take the $55 and let it on fire is what we should have done. Yeah. Because that could be gas money. I mean, that's just, that's gas money right there, That's a tank of gas. But you had to look at ass. And titties. Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I live by freedom of speech. And so, I love the First Amendment. Yeah. Freedom of speech. I love it. So as we're getting into my final thought, because I am getting home for the night and I'm getting done from driving from Groom Transportation this great Monday through Friday, I just want to say that I enjoyed it. I'm glad to be getting home. I hope that I can, have some fun. I'm thinking of making BLTs when I get home. So I'm going to make burgers with bacon, lettuce, mayo and ketchup on toast. Yep. Yeah, basically cheeseburger BLTs. Yeah. So burger, egg, cheese, lettuce, ketchup, mayonnaise on toast. Yep. Those are my kind of BLTs. Just want to say thanks again for everybody who's watched the show and watched the earlier show. This is just the second show. This one was tonight's kind of gotten a little bit fishy on me, so I kind of went a little bit south with, negatory stuff that was on, that's on the internet. And, people have their choice. I mean, they want to listen to it or they don't want to listen to it. It's their choice, But I just, don't understand what goes on in the minds of some of these people. And you got to wonder. I mean, it's 3 a.m, driving home from the airport. I don't have any passengers, so I'm bored. And I think about things, so I figured, well, I'm alone. So I'm gonna do my civic duty as a wonderful person to basically do my live videos. And basically you guys can watch these live videos and you can see that there's nothing wrong with me. Some of the things that I talk about and some of the things that I do, I just want you guys to understand that I'm not going through a lot of problems. I talk about things like saying that I wish something could turn around for me, or I wish something could go my way. And all that is me saying is, I hope that someday I could win the lottery, or someday something could happen to where Jack, gets what he's looking for. And basically what I'm looking for is I'm looking for my promised land. I'm looking for something to happen to me to where I'm happy, where, where I could be myself. I don't have people hounding me for things, asking me for advice all the time. Just listening to what I have to say. Being happy, having my own off-road park, my own place that I can go and just drive my Jeep around my farm, have other people drive their Jeeps around their farm, or drive the Jeeps around the farm, go to, lifted, go to, lifted, parts of the thing, and take it off-roading and realize, yeah, back on the road again, Mark. I'm almost done, though. Yeah, I'm almost done. I'm just pulling into the backside of Groom now. I'm doing my final thought. So I'm doing my final thought and doing my final piece. So I'm almost done for the night. But so I basically, what I want, and you know, when I sit here and I talk about the promised land, or I sit here and I talk about my dream or my goal in life, and I talk about having my own park where I can go and where I can do things, and I can work on Jeeps for other people, and we can, you know, we can be a community together of off-road enthusiasts. That's what Trax Revolution is going to be. That's the new era of Trax Revolution. I've basically, you know, said that I still own Trax Revolution. I am president, CEO, and owner of the company, and I am going to take it far. But I'm going to take it in a more off-roading approach. That's what I said earlier in my first video. My first video and everything else that I did earlier. And that's what I want to do. So when I sit there and I say that I'm done and I've had enough and I wish things would change for me, it's just me saying, you know, everybody has their dream that they want. Well, I have mine. And my dream is to play Camo Claws in the wintertime, in December, or do it 365 days a year, keep spreading cheer for everybody all the time, have my own park, have my own place where I can help people work on their off-road vehicle. We can have mud bogs, we can have, you know, we can have fun, we can do what we want to do, and just go mudding. Be a big, crazy redneck, you know, family. Or just have a big mud bog and go, you know, swimming or go whatever, you know, just be happy, you know. And that's what I want. And just continue to be loved by people. And that's all I want. So that's my final thought. And my final thought for this morning on Saturday, 6/21, June 21st, is basically just live every day and love somebody. Love yourself if you have to. But just go out there and enjoy yourself. That's my final thought. I just want to say thanks again for everybody who's watched the show. Mark, thanks again. You get greatly appreciated because I know you're probably sitting there bored in the ER just doing nothing. So, you know, I gotta figure out, you know, somebody to talk to. But I'm back at the Groom office, and I'm about to call it a night because that's what I want to do. And yeah. So I'm gonna get gas and then I'm gonna kick some ass and get out of here, because back at good old Shepherd, you mean Shepherd Hospital? I don't even know where that's at. I have no idea where that's at. Yeah. But I don't even know where that's at. But I'm going to get gas and I'm going to get out of here. Oh, rehab clinic. Okay. Well, I hope you get better, Mark. And I hope you feel better and enjoy the day. But I'm getting out of here. So you guys have yourselves a good night. And Take care. Oh.